Today, on the Bear Experiment podcast, we're stepping into that in between with a woman who lived it, not once, but countless times. Hey everyone, I'm Monica Clavijo, and my guest today, Melissa Chatwell, is a certified death midwife, an end of life companion, and a lifelong shaman who has seen beyond what most of us can imagine. From childhood encounters with the spirit world to a near death experience that awakened her divine guide. Melissa walks with both the living and the dying, helping souls cross, homes clear, and hearts awaken. In this episode, we'll talk about what happens when the body fades, but consciousness remains. How to hear the voice of your intuition. Is it your higher self, or is it your spirit guides? And what happens when energies from other realms, even extraterrestrial ones, enter our human experience? This conversation isn't just about death, it's about awakening. It's about remembering who we truly are, eternal beings, having a temporary experience. Welcome to the Bear Experiment podcast, and I'm your host, Monica Clavijo. And today, we're crossing that veil. I also want to take this opportunity to thank you all for all of your support by subscribing to our YouTube channel and hitting that notification bell so that you never miss an amazing episode with all of the amazing guests that continue to come onto the show, sharing their knowledge and their wisdom, helping us all collectively elevate. Now let's dive in. All righty, Melissa, and we are recording. So thank you so much for taking the opportunity to speak with me. I've been following some of your content on social media, and I find it very interesting. You are a lot like a lot of the guests that I have on the podcast, just talking about spiritual awakening and what happens once our temporary experience here is up, which is the inevitable for all of us. And it's such an uncomfortable conversation for all of us to have. And I believe that we kind of need to shift away from that and just understand that it's just the process of life, and everything that's happening, it's happening in our highest good and for our best purpose, right? And once we operate from that viewpoint, the world is not as hard as we make it out to be in our own heads, right? And I speak for myself when I say
So
that.
true.
So again, thank you so much for speaking with me. So let's dive in. Are you ready?
Sure. Absolutely. Thanks, Monica. I appreciate being here.
Okay, so when did you first realize your connection to the spirit world wasn't just your imagination, right? Because so many times, those of us that are trying to awaken and right have that spiritual intuition like activate and kick in, how do we know that it's just not our own thoughts and our own projections in our head that we're just repeating to ourselves in our own voice? Because I hear it in my own voice all the time, but I've learned to kind of distinct it based on a feeling that I'm having, right? What's the feeling flow that I'm feeling with the same voice that's talking to me in my head? So, how did you distinguish it?
That's a couple of questions. So I first realized that I could see dead people. My earliest memory is when I was 2 years old. And I know that I was two because it involved my sister who was still in a crib and she's 2 years younger than me and she was an infant. But I remember sitting, playing, my parents were there and hearing her cry. And I was the first one that heard her. Parents were too far away to hear her. So I remember walking down the hallway and kind of pushing the door open and seeing a woman who I knew wasn't alive leaning over into the crib, and she turned her head to look at me, and as soon as she looked at me and smiled, she like disappeared. And I remember like running down the hall trying to tell my parents there's somebody in the room, but I was two. Obviously they're not going to understand what I was saying,
I
but
just
I
got goosebumps all over my body when you just said that story, by the way, because they do say that children are the ones that are closest to the spirit world, right? And it's within those ages of like when we're born to like 3, 5 years old, where we have that really, really strong intuitive connection to the spirit world. So it's easier for children to communicate or for them to communicate with them, right? Because everybody's
right.
already so
Well,
programmed.
for sure. And you hit it right on the head. That was the next thing I was going to say is that's tried, or I think reality saying like the consciousness that we all live in tries to sort of beat that out of us from the time that we're little, right? That
100%.
it's not useful, which is interesting because women tend to hold on to it a little better than men do. We turn it into women's intuition, or we just have a feeling something's going to happen. Men, on the other hand, turn it into they're really good at cards, or they're a really great salesman. So they use it in a slightly different way, but all of us still have that. We just don't recognize it and we don't value it because it doesn't make us money, or it's too Phoebe, like it's too Phoebe related.
It's just that woo-woo conversation that people are
Yes.
still very much, even though it's becoming more enlightening to speak about this subject, people are more open to it, especially after COVID took place.
Hmm.
I think that it really kind of helped awaken all of us and how easily, today can end for all of us.
Yep. Yeah.
And going back to women experiencing that intuition stronger, right? As women, that's that motherly thing that we have, which is Mother Earth, right? It's that creation part that we have.
Yep.
And men operate on from a very logical perspective, which I want to get into that with you because I know that you're a very logical female as well with the way that you operate. And I think that that's the reason why, right? It's
Yeah.
a man will come in and see it, believe it, but then their brain is like, no, you're crazy. These people don't know what they're talking about. They're hippies. They're in a
Right.
cult, whatever the case may be, and their logic kind of starts kicking in, which ruins that connection that they can have to the spirit world. So 2 years old, that's so young. And how did you feel when you saw that woman carrying your sister in the crib? Were you scared? Were you at ease? What was the feeling? Do you remember that?
I don't remember being afraid of her. I remember knowing that she was a stranger, like she wasn't supposed to be there, but I don't remember being afraid of her. The fear kicked in later. I remember being a little bit older, but my whole childhood at nighttime, my room was full of dead people.
Ugh,
And because I was raised Seventh-day Adventist, they don't believe that there's even the potential for the spirit, that when your body dies, you're dead. There is no spirit. They believe that it's the breath of God that goes back to God, not any kind of consciousness.
right.
So anything like that is equated with the devil. So that from the time I was a little child, I was equated, my mom would just say, well, that's the devil. Okay, well, that's making me feel better, being alone in my room with all of these dead people that now you're telling me is the devil. And now I'm associated with that. So most of the time I would just go in and sleep at the foot of their bed. I'd wait till they went to sleep so I wasn't alone. So I got really scared of it when I was growing up. But I never believed it to be, I don't think deep down I believed it to be evil. I might not have known what it was because I didn't have access to knowledge like that. We were raised in a very sheltered environment. That religion doesn't really have a lot of interaction with people outside of their religion. So having that sheltered environment when I turned, 17, 18 and started to actually associate with people out in the world and realize, wait a minute, I'm not the weird one here. I'm not the unusual person. I'm the normal person in this scenario. I think made it a lot easier. But because I had such scary experiences in my 20s with the other stuff, it wasn't until much later that I became comfortable with things. And it took a huge event for that to even happen.
Yeah, we're definitely going to dive into your NDE. Before we get there, is there maybe another space that you can walk into because your internet connection seems to be you're kind of like going in and out a little bit. I don't know if it's the internet connection where you're at.
Okay, hang on. Let me turn off Wi-Fi and see if I can go to just,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm literally sitting in the best place in the house for this. Did that improve anything?
Yeah, so far you're good. You were just kind of going in and out there a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's get back into it. So when you're this young, 2, 3 year old and you're seeing all these dead people in your room, what are they saying to you? Are they talking to you or are they just kind of like showing face and letting you know, hey, we're here? Or are they actually giving you messages that you remember?
I don't remember.
Of
I
course, you
just
were so
remember
young.
being so scared that I would
Oh,
like hide. I remember shoving my bed up against the wall so at least I had my back against something, and then spending most of the time under the blanket. So I don't remember talking. I don't remember talking, but I usually get most of my information inside my head. So maybe at that time I didn't know how to differentiate between the
right.
two.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not
sure.
sure.
And you had nobody to talk to about it, right?
No,
Everything that you were experiencing where somebody can kind of guide you because you have the gift, a little more pronounced than others.
right.
So then when you finally start understanding and accepting that you have this gift of intuition, as we all do, but yours is more developed, it was after a near-death experience that you experienced. Can you walk us through that? What happened to you?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd even qualify it as a near death experience. So I was conscious the whole time. Um, I suppose technically it is. It is a near death experience. So I had had some really scary things happen. I was really just blocked off. I was still seeing dead people and still scary things were happening, but I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do with what I knew. I felt like a victim of everything.
Yeah.
And so I just ignored it. I tried to push it off as much as I could. But I was living in Alaska and I was working at a hospital, and our parking lot was under construction. And so we had to park across a busy main road, busy being comparative. It's Alaska, it was a small island, but lots of traffic. And so it was after work, and I went to cross the street. I was in a crosswalk, and I got hit in the middle of the crosswalk by somebody who was passing another car. I became a projectile. I flew. I was awake the whole time. I remember feeling like I'd slipped in the snow, but I was going way too fast and it didn't make any sense. So when I finally stopped, I landed face down, and I couldn't see or hear anything. Nothing hurt, and I knew I was dying. I knew that I'd broken my back. I knew I had massive internal injuries. And all of this happened in an instant. And I remember thinking I had just crossed that street with my two little boys the night before, and I
Oh,
was so glad they weren't with me that night.
yes.
Um, and as soon as I accepted the fact I was dying, I was sad that I wouldn't get to see them grow up, but
Of
I
course.
was okay with it. And as soon as that instant hit that it's like, no, I'm okay with this, everything turned back on, and I knew I wasn't going to die. I could feel the cold, I could feel the pain, I could hear the traffic. And so I was in the hospital for, well, that's a whole other story. It ended up that they were able to keep me there. I'd broken a lot of bones, broken my back. I actually had no internal organ damage. They don't know where all the blood came
So
from, but
you
it was
you
in my
broke
abdomen.
you broke your back.
I
That's
was
severe.
basically broken in half lengthwise. So broke down the middle. Yeah, it was bad. So I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. I was in a wheelchair for 4 months. And it was during that time that who I now know as my guide showed up. And I was literally sitting at home in a wheelchair. The kids are at school, and I can feel someone standing behind me. And every time I got that feeling, it was a dead person. So I would, and the house was haunted that I lived in. So I was like, what is he doing downstairs? He's always upstairs. But I realized it was somebody completely different. And he said, do you know what you are? And are you tired of being afraid? And he said shaman. I'd never even heard that word. I mean, outside of some random, story you hear from time to time. No idea what that meant. But the part about being afraid, I was really tired of being afraid. But I think it was because I was finally sitting still. I was in a place where I was a captive audience, and I was that way for months. It ended up being years because it took years of surgeries. Once I was out of the wheelchair and able to move around, they started surgery after surgery after surgery. So I couldn't work, and it was really an intense focus period. So I asked if I could have a couple of days to think about it and did a little bit of research. And he showed up 2 days later and asked me the question again. And I said yes. And he said, okay, everything's going to change. And it did. From that point on, I saw him everywhere I go, like literally a person with me, just as solid as anybody else.
Like
And
physically,
he
you saw a physical
physically,
person
yes.
and you were
Yep.
able to clearly distinguish that person that you were seeing speaking with you in your head.
Yes. Absolutely. Clear as voice.
So
And it
what
wasn't
what
my
is
internal voice at all.
what does he look like?
That's actually something I don't think I'm supposed to share. Same with the name. I can't. It's
Okay.
it's so I apologize, but yeah, that
No,
isn't something I can talk about.
I've heard this from several
Really?
spiritual psychics and yeah, intuitives, yes, where
Yeah.
they say that you it or they prefer, I don't know if you can or can't, but they prefer not to share that information.
Maybe. To be honest, I don't know his name. He's never shared a name with me.
Okay.
So I know him. I know who he is. I always get the impression that he's vaguely disappointed I'm the person he's stuck with.
Why is that?
But that could just be me putting it on him. I don't know. I think it's that he's very taciturn. He's
Yeah.
kind of stern. And so I always, that's probably me giving it some kind of meaning that isn't there.
Yeah.
But no, he would every day. And that's why, I've had people say, well, can you teach me how to do this? I was taught in such a unique way. I don't know if I could teach somebody else how to do this because every day, constantly, all day long, it would be minor things like that person's going to say this, and then they would say it. Or I'd be driving down a road and he would say, there was an accident there 3 weeks ago. Go into that store and ask. And he would tell me all the details about it ahead of time. And then I would go in and ask, and it would be exactly what he told me. So over that 18 months, it developed the relationship that I can trust absolutely everything that he's telling me
Yeah.
without even questioning it, because I know it's not my internal voice. Everything he says is something I wouldn't have known myself. So that type of a learning environment was so useful to somebody like me who's so skeptical about everything. I
Right.
didn't believe any of this. I didn't grow up believing in it despite my subjective experiences. So yeah, I can't replicate that for someone else. And I'm so appreciative of it.
There's a lot of clarity in the way that the communication is taking place now, which obviously helps a skeptic, right? I'll share a quick story. So,
Yeah.
over the weekend, I went and I bought a treadmill for the house just to kind of,
Mm-hmm.
work out and get my mind right. And as I'm driving back home, I just relocated to another city, and I'm still questioning why I even did this. It was a crazy, balls to the wall kind of move that I did with my 15-year-old daughter alone. And I wanted to buy, so when I went to buy the treadmill, I wanted to buy the boys in the office golf puck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, for a little office, little joy thing that they have there to, right,
Yeah.
when they're stressed out. Anyway, so I wanted to do something nice for the boys, but little to my knowledge, a golf puck cost about, $100. And I didn't know this. So I was like, yeah, I don't love him that much. I'm not about that life right now. So, I just got the treadmill. I'm driving home. And as I'm driving home, I remember watching a YouTube video where they were like, what you need to do is just ask the question. Ask the question to your spirit guides, to your higher self, and you will receive the answer. Long story short, I get home, we're unpacking the treadmill, my daughter and I were building it, and we're throwing away the boxes. Melissa, I kid you not. When I get to the garbage on the floor, there is a hockey puck that somebody threw away. And the name of the hockey puck, the brand is Odyssey. The name of the company that I work for is Odyssey. Okay? When I
That's
Googled
awesome.
the brand is like $100 hockey puck that somebody just threw away. But it was right where I'm throwing away the boxes. It was on his own. It was like, you're meant to find this right now. We're letting you
Oh,
know that we're listening to you. You're not alone. You're in the right place at the right time, even though you don't get it right now. That's the way that I interpreted that sign, you
absolutely.
know? Like it's like you can't get more crystal clear than that. And I needed that. That's where I'm going with this. I
Right.
needed kind of like that. You got to talk to me like I'm a 2-year-old right now because I'm not feeling it. Like I'm not feeling it. And it gave me such a sense of ease at that point where it's like just keep doing what you're doing, do the right thing, keep doing what you're doing, and everything is going to work out. And again, in your situation, I think that sometimes that's what needs to take place. It's like your situation was such a detrimental one. You're in the hospital, you broke your backs, you're analyzing the fact that God forbid the day before you were, crossing with your kids,
Right.
and that it could have been them. And it just puts you at that point, even though you're going through such a devastating experience, a position of gratitude where you're just so
Mhm.
grateful that it wasn't your children and that it was you. And it gives you a different perspective and a shift to the reality that you're
Yeah.
experiencing in order for you to be able to welcome everything, right? Yeah. Anyway, so that's my
Yeah,
little
for sure.
story.
And I remember getting to that point. That's awesome. I
Yeah.
remember getting to the point where, I was feeling, why me? Why me? And I think that it does become a choice at some point to
Yeah.
become, what you do with what happens to you. I gained so much more than I lost from that.
Right.
So much more than I lost from that. So, yeah. But oh my God, your story is awesome. So you felt
Right.
like through that
I
experience, you
just,
feel a little
my, qu-
validated in where
a-
you're at.
as I'm driving back with the treadmill in my trunk, I was just like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I'm doing. I've been in the same industry forever, and I just got a job transfer. But I
Mhm.
just like I don't know why I'm here. I don't even know if I'm in the right place right now. And then all that just took place. So to me, it was just like, girl, don't worry so much about why you're here. Just keep doing what you're doing, and everything else is going to
Yeah.
fall into place. And it let me know that I'm in the right place at the right time, which is what I needed to hear. It
Yeah.
just gave me a little bit of validation, knowing that I'm by myself.
Mhm.
And it's like, don't be afraid, right? It's that fear mind that we all have, right? Like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? We all
Yeah,
get
for
into that.
sure. But that's awesome. And good for you for recognizing that. A lot of people don't. It's like, oh, that's a weird coincidence and go on with their day. So I think acknowledging things like that gives them power also. You're acknowledging it and thanking the universe for whatever it is that they gave you.
And it's
That's
also
awesome.
because I'm open to receiving it and I've
Yes,
welcomed it, right? As you did.
right.
It gets to a point
Yep.
where you're just like, okay, I'm ready to listen. Talk to me, right? But do it like give me like the Spiritual for Dummies book because I'm having a hard time connecting here. Uh, so let's get a little bit into your death midwife, and so you're a death midwife and an end of life companion. Um, so what's that like? You work in hospice? Well, what does that mean exactly?
So I just finished my certification for the death midwife stuff. So I've worked with the dead forever, and doing readings and running into dead people all over the place because they're just part of the ecosystem. But I've always felt really drawn to working with people who are dying. I've known that that would be how I would retire once I left my day job, that that's what I would do. And so that's where I'm at right now. I'm still working full time, but basically, an end of life coach does anything from helping you prepare your will or your advanced directive up to and including planning your funeral.
Oh, okay.
Everything we do data removal. So, those people that are worried about their digital footprint when they leave and don't want their family to deal with that, we do things like that.
Oh, how
So it's pretty
interesting.
much anything you need. The unique part about what I offer in my service is that as a shaman, being able to see the dead, I can actually cross with people up to a certain point. So if they're feeling concerned about that transition, it's literally somebody who can hold their hand through the entire process. Now, obviously, I don't die, but there's a point after death that I've seen over and over. And again, I'm not an expert. I've just seen patterns over and over and over again,
Right.
where when a person dies, they stick around. They go to their funeral. It's like we're being given a chance to say goodbye. We're given a chance to mourn a little bit the life that we're leaving. As we slowly disconnect from it, it becomes less and less important to us. But
How long are we around for on
it
average?
seems like it's about up to 2 weeks, like a few
Really?
days
That
up to
long?
2 weeks. Yeah. And that's kind of the sweet spot. You kind of don't want to hold people longer than that because I think they tend to get a little confused about why they're here. And we want them to be able to move forward to whatever comes next and then be able to come back and forth as they choose. So having that ability to go with them during that first period where they're sort of still here, kind of offers a unique option for people.
And what types of lessons have you learned from people that you've helped right before they transition to lessons or where they could have done things differently, right? Like what are some if they speak to you at that point, right? Like what are some of the things that somebody could be regretful for toward the end of their life that they wish that they could have done differently?
I don't have a lot of experience yet with folks that are dying. I've only worked with a couple so far, and they were
Mm,
nonverbals, so I'm not really sure about those. But having a lot of the dead that I've worked with, the thing that they regret the most is not having said, I love you, or
mm,
not having shown approval. That seems to be one that really comes through in almost every reading
yeah.
or every even just dead person I'm talking to. I really wish I'd spent more time letting them know how I really feel inside.
Yeah.
Because I think we all think we have unlimited time, right? That, oh, we'll get
We
to it
don't,
at some
yeah,
point. I'll
that's what
visit with my kids at some point.
I find that fascinating, how we all know we're gonna die. We all know, yet we don't believe it. Oh no, I'm not gonna die tomorrow. I'm gonna die when I'm 100, or I'm never gonna die. I'm a vampire. Like, where's the logic in this, like, not believing the inevitable that so many of us have, right? Uh,
Right.
let's see, supporting people during their transition. I know that you're still in the process of becoming that, but in your experience as a psychic, do your loved ones come to you when you're transitioning to kind of like welcome you into paradise? Is that true?
It is. There's actually, it's a well known thing in hospice workers. I'm actually starting hospice work this week as a volunteer. It's called visitation. And it's been recorded. There's a wonderful woman called Hospice Nurse Julie. and she posts
I know who
actual
you're talking
videos.
about. Yes.
Do you know her? Oh,
And
she's
Penny,
wonderful.
the
But
Penny, have you followed
she
Penny as
is.
well? Yeah. I had
Yes, yep,
I
Penny's
had
awesome.
Penny on the podcast already.
Oh, nice. I
Yeah.
love her. But yeah, Hospice Nurse Julie actually posted one recently of a woman talking to the group of people that were with her
Oh wow.
and a video of them. And it's a very common thing, pets, family members. The question I get asked most often, though, is what about people I don't want there? What about people who crossed that I did not have a good relationship with and I don't want to see them? It appears they don't show up, that it's only the people that you're open to, whether you're consciously aware of that or not. So that's kind of an important distinction.
Yeah, I saw that firsthand with my father when he transitioned
Oh, wow.
right before he went, and I have it on video. We were in the hospital and he was already delirious. Like we made the
Mhm.
decision to take him to hospice at that point, and he started calling not for his mother, but his grandmother, who was the one in Cuba that raised them while my grandmother had to work.
Oh.
And he was just and on video, Mima, Mima, just calling for her and calling for her. And I remember I would ask my mom, like, Mima, is he calling like grandma his mom? She's like, no, that's his grandmother that he's calling for. So it was his grandmother that was
Interesting.
there looking for him, but I have it on video. So there's some truth to be said about it. I saw it firsthand with my own father, you know.
Yeah.
I do believe that our loved ones do come back to let us know, right? Because it's an energetic connection that we never lose. It's a soul tie that we carry anywhere that we go, right? It's
It
essentially.
is. Yeah. It's interesting though, when my father-in-law passed, he and his mother didn't have a great relationship, but I've never seen her. She passed before my husband and I were married. And I remember sitting on the couch. He was nonverbal at that point, and I could see her and she was literally saying, well, I'm here. That's what you do when people die. You show up. And my husband said, who are you talking to? I think I have a look when, because he's an engineer, he doesn't believe in any of this.
Of
And
course,
so I
logical
told him what
mind,
I was seeing,
logical
and
man
he,
brain.
right? He says, "Oh, that's my grandma Chatwell." Like I described her, and he brought me a picture. I'm like, "Yep, that's who it is." But yeah, I don't know if my father-in-law wanted her there, but she was there. Not happy about it, but she was there.
Hey, listen, it's again, it's an energetic connection that we have. Whatever, maybe their lesson together is going to be in the afterworld, right? God knows.
Maybe.
I want to talk about your collaboration, your spiritual collaboration that you talk about with doctors, right? And physicians
Oh, yeah.
because I do believe that holding in, right, anger or like all this stuck energy that we have in our bodies does manifest into disease, right? Whatever it may be, cancer, all of these horrible diseases that so many of us have. And there's always an underlying factor, which is usually energy that we're holding in. If you're pissed off all the time, something's going to happen. There has to be a shift in the way that you carry yourself. So, how have you been able to help heal those people that are suffering with a certain trauma through your psychic abilities?
Sure. First, I want to make the distinction, though, that I don't do anything. I'm just the intermediary. I'm the mouth by which the guide or their guides gets things done. So me, Melissa, don't have any power or ability or anything. I'm just the one who interprets. But that said, I worked with some local doctors the last 10, 12 years, particularly with people with pain, chronic pain, particularly pain syndromes that aren't necessarily related to a physical event. So what happens is one of the doctors is one of the, or I don't know if he still is, but one of the doctors for the Winter Olympic team. So he's a physio something. I don't remember what his exact title is. So he would send patients who modern treatments, Western medicine treatments, weren't actually getting to the heart of what was wrong with them. And we did
Right.
sort of an informal study over this time to see if working on the spiritual side of things gave them a leg up in their therapies. So, are they making better progress? Also, working with therapists who have patients that they feel might have a spiritual issue going on to see if their therapy gets better. General practitioners, I also work with them who have patients that are similar situations suffering for something that medical treatments aren't as effective as they should be. And by removing whatever those blockages are or entities, sometimes it's attachments that they have, but it works hand in hand with talk therapy and Western medicine. So by all means, better living through science, right? I'm not saying that the woo woo stuff is the end all be all. It's just another facet of things that need to be taken care of when you're looking at the whole body.
Oh, and sometimes when you're at that point already where you become almost desperate, right? Maybe Asian or Eastern medicine is the answer at that point because
Sure.
what else do you have to lose? And then they find that it does work. I was watching a great interview where Mel Gibson was talking about that because he was such a heavy smoker for so many years. And
Mm.
he had all these issues going on with him. And he ended up going to some Indian doctor. And he would put him up against the wall and like, like crack his back. And it was like all this Reiki energy movement that they were doing with him. And he says that he was petrified when he was there, but that it helped him with whatever issue it was that medical issue he was dealing with where, Western medicine
Interesting.
wasn't able to help him.
Mm.
Are you able to distinguish when through your communication? I know that you're the interim there, but are you able to see if it's a negative energy that could be attached to the person and that's what's making them sick?
Yeah, for sure. And that is the case sometimes. We come in contact with things, whether it's the bad intentions of another person, a living person, to confuse dead people. So in situations where people talk about possession, I see that way more often with a dead person who's just confused or malignant than I do with something that is truly evil.
And
Shamanism doesn't recognize demons, but there are bad things out there for sure.
so how does that happen? How does a perplexed entity get attached to you?
I think that certain things draw them and make it easier. So
Like what?
depression,
Lower
untreated
vibration.
mental disorders. Yeah, addiction issues. It can be profound sadness. Anytime that when you think about yourself being 100% vulnerable and open, when you're open like that all the time,
Yeah.
so someone with bipolar disorder that isn't adequately controlled, that can be a draw. So I think it's almost like when pieces of ourselves are missing, the universe hates a void, right? So something moves in. Some people who have had abuse, that can be a draw too. There's some part of them that's broken. Oftentimes, pieces of ourselves could break off during trauma too. And shamanism practices something called soul retrieval, where we go and find those pieces that are missing and bring them back. And having that whole spirit again actually makes your physical body feel better too. So it's all interconnected.
So you've actually been in ritual practices, being a shaman, through plant herbal medicine, like ayahuasca, and where they're doing that so much more now. It's becoming more popular. Is that something that you
Mhm.
practice as well?
No, I don't. I don't have the capability to do ayahuasca ceremony. I would love to do it myself. I was actually in Ecuador, and my friends got me a 2-hour session with a native shaman there in the jungle, which was amazing. And so we did a little bit there, but because of the medications that I have to take because of my accident, I'm a little
Yes,
leery of doing that without
sure.
medical help, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah.
there's a guy that he's a shaman and he has a
Mhm.
retreat. It's over in Maryland. It's called ayahuasca. I can't remember the name right now. Anyway, but that's what they do. They have all of these retreats and they'll do like female retreats or they'll do them co-ed, and it's a lot of meditation in the
Mhm.
beginning and then they go and they give you the medicine, and it's legal. They're battling it. It's a nonprofit
Nice.
organization, however it is that they have to justify it, right? To
Right,
be able
right.
to do this in the States. But yeah, he talks about a lot of people that have dealt with addiction issues and depression, and that the medicine has completely shifted the way that they think, where they're not depressed anymore. They don't have the
Right.
PTSD, they don't have the anxiety. So there is some validation to hearing all these testimonials with people that have
Oh,
actually
I'm sure.
experienced it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Let's see. So differentiating intuition. Let's dive a little bit into that because again, this is now help me. Help me, Melissa. So again, I am more open to it. I'm also alone. right? I live with my
Mhm.
daughter, but I'm alone for the first time in a long time. And it's been a while that I've been this way now. And at first, I was a little resistant to it, and now I'm more welcoming to it because I'm seeing the positive side of me being able to grow by being alone and not having to deal with another person that I have to give my attention to. So with that being said, I am trying to pay more attention to the signs and the synchronicities like the golf puck. So how are ways that we can elevate that intuition that you can help people like me that we're welcoming it? Talk to me, spirit guides. Like, how can we do it?
I think you did the biggest step is being open to it and being willing to look for it, because that does require energy, right? Like
Yeah,
you had to acknowledge what you found and give it the credit that it earned. But we use our intuition all the time. We just don't realize that's what we're doing. It's a whole other sense that's built into us. So start small. I was telling a group yesterday that if you're going to the grocery store, a way to practice this is every time you get to the end of the aisle, you never know if anybody's coming around the corner, right? You just kind
Mm-hmm.
of lean out and before you turn, feel if there's somebody there. You can literally test this on every aisle. Could you tell there was somebody right around the corner? When you're driving your car, what's the color of the next car that's coming? Start to figure out how your intuition works and how does it present itself. So when you're standing at the end of the aisle and you can feel somebody coming, is that a feeling? Did you see it as a picture? Was it the words stop? How does it present to you? Because all of our intuition presents in a different way. And the way I get my information is not necessarily going to be the way you get your information.
Right. Everybody's different.
So exactly. So all of that's valid. Sometimes people get their intuitive information like a memory. It feels to them like a memory, but then they're like, "Well, this didn't happen to me." That isn't necessarily your imagination. So think of the context when you got that information. What was the context of the information? What were you doing when you got that information?
Right.
Because none of us are getting it in clear words and pictures. For the most part, even me, like I said, I don't often get somebody like information saying, "Oh, you need to go talk to that woman. Her father died at the age of 67. He was wearing a blue shirt and it was a rainy Tuesday." I'm not going to get all of that. I might get rain and blue and an older man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have to figure out, okay, well, what does this mean? A lot of times I get my information in correlation. So it will be something about my accident, maybe something very specific about my broken leg. And it's like, oh, okay, well, let's focus on that. Was there an accident involving their left leg? So what makes a good intuitive is somebody who knows how to process raw data, because that's all you're getting. You're getting data. You just have to figure out how to apply the data in a way that's useful. But we're
Do,
all getting that data all the time.
do you use any type of tools in order to be easier so that you can more easily identify the messages that you're receiving, like tarot cards or oracle cards?
No,
No?
no, I've tried that. I've tried that, and it's a distraction for me.
Yeah, it's a
I
lot.
think people have said that when I'm doing readings, I kind of stare off into the distance. So I think I'm focused internally when I'm doing that. But no, but I know a lot of people do. And that's great. If that's how they're getting their information,
Right.
by all means, use whatever tools you got.
Right, right. Let's are you open to talking a little bit about um how you're interpreting alien encounters? I know that you briefly get into that a little bit. I know that there's not a lot going on with that yet, but I'd love to get your perspective with the overlapping situation where we have right now, where it's like, okay, our intuition, are we speaking to spirit guides, or could those actually be entities of other realms that we're speaking to, like aliens that are just far more advanced than we are from, light years ahead, and those are the ones that are communicating telepathically with us. Like, but what's your thought process on aliens? Do they exist?
I I don't know. So this is one of those weird situations where I've had a couple of situations with clients that I think that's what it was, but I don't know what I personally believe about that. Obviously, we can't be alone in the universe, right? But
Right.
I think if somebody put a gun to my head and said, you have to explain this right now, I think what it might be is like dimensions. And I realize how utterly ridiculous that sounds. But it's
Agreed.
almost like there are all these timelines that are kind of happening at the same
Merging. They're
time.
all
And
merging
they,
together.
Yes, and they sort of intersect. And every once in a while, maybe one happens where we now are headed in that direction. And that wasn't necessarily how we started out. I was talking to somebody recently who saw his own death. He saw it over and over and over when he was in the military, to the point that he stopped communicating with his family because he was like, I'm already dead. I know I'm dying. And the day that it happened, he said, I knew this was the moment. I knew this was the moment that I died. I knew that guy was going to say that. He said, and I'm sitting in my chair literally pointing to them when he was in the military, when something struck right near where they were, but he didn't die. And he felt, because I asked him, what do you think happened? He's like, honestly, I feel like I went into a different timeline. Like in that dimension, I died, but now I'm in a different one, like a
Well,
different timeline. I don't.
isn't that essentially what psychic readings are, is reading the energy in the present moment, but based on the decisions that we make through our free will, our destiny can change, right? We're maneuvering that part as
Absolutely.
well. So our realities are
Yes.
constantly shifting. Are we elevating? Are we lowering our vibration? Like which reality are we shifting to? And that's where you get into a position where if you're elevating your position, all of a sudden now you have marriages of, 40 years that, dissipate because now you have nothing in common because one person stayed in one reality and now you shifted to another one, and there's just no fixing that. Are you
Yeah.
familiar with the teachings of Bashar through Daryl Anka and his channeling?
No.
Yeah. So it's interesting if you're into this. He's been around for a really long time. His name is Daryl Anka, and he channels an alien from the planet Asasani, which is a parallel reality about 500 light years from Earth, right? So it's a lot of esoteric type of wisdom, right? Like very positive motivation, reading the signs and synchronicities and knowing that everything is going to work out as long as you're operating from your highest point, highest happiness at the moment. And once you operate to and do that as much as you can, so you can't do it anymore, and then you find something else to do. And once you operate like that, you're going to find your purpose and you're going to find that flow. But if you're into this, follow him. He's actually very interesting. He has uh different events all the time where he goes and he speaks to to a community, and he's been around for a really
Oh,
long time. Yeah, he worked in Hollywood also, but I don't know. I've been
interesting.
following him. He's listen, whether he's legit or not, I like the way he makes me feel when I listen to the messages, and that's the way
Oh,
that I just interpret it. So, um okay,
yep.
so then
Anything's possible.
again, right? And everybody has a different way of evolving and just understanding
Right.
life, and everybody's different, and you have to be okay with people saying you're a nut job or not. Those are the ones that maybe come to you in 10 years when they're like, "Hey, something happened. Like help me," right?
Oh, all the time. All the
Right?
time.
Of
People
course.
calling me with this, I'm going to sound crazy, or this is going to sound nuts. No, no.
Not to
This
me.
stuff happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah. So I also, for a couple of years now, I have my real estate license. I've dabbled it on the side a little bit. So I'd love to get into that aspect of what you do because I found that to be very, very fascinating. Talk to me. How is it that you work with haunted homes and real estate energy work? Like, talk to me about that. I see a business in that big time.
There actually is. I work with realtors here in Canada and Europe. So basically, all of us have driven by that one property that just every time you go by, it's a different business, right? They can't just keep one
Yes.
business in there. It's
Yeah.
always
It's
changing
it's
hands.
right.
Or the house on the corner that they keep putting the for sale sign up and it just isn't selling. It's not selling. So there are a few things that can happen. It isn't always hauntings. Sometimes that happens. Oftentimes it's an entity that might be associated with the general area. Sometimes it's somebody who died in the area and is stuck. Sometimes it's somebody who was attached to a living person in the home and just stuck around after they left. Most often, it's because of experiences that happened in the house. So we're taught on TV that a poltergeist is an evil entity. Poltergeist energy is actually created by living people, and it's created by the raw, unfiltered emotions of humans. So think when they're having big family arguments, or they've been sick for a long time, and that's the pervading energy in the house now. All of that over time can congeal into like a thing and start creating disruptions in the house. So you're talking like things, doors opening and closing, weird noises, things moving, but those need to be gotten rid of. So being aware, one, that we need to make sure that the energy that in our house is good. So, you know, doing energy clearings and that type of thing you can do with sage. There's an easy way to do that. And I have instructions for that on my video, and I'm happy to send them to people. I prefer to teach you how to do it rather than do it for you. But we're also accumulating all of the energy of everybody else who lived in that space before us, or the energy that happened on the property before we moved into it. So I get that all the time. Well, this is a new house. We just built it. Nothing happened here, really. In the history of the world, nothing has ever happened on your property. I mean, we have people that came west. I live in Colorado, came west, and nobody ever heard from them again. People just dropped dead. Nobody knew where they were. You know,
Yeah.
oh, they went out west. We never heard from them again. Those don't make history books. So it's getting rid of those things and creating an environment now where something new and fresh can happen. So I've cleared businesses where I've had to sign an NDA, museums, places like that, that people in my area I think are very open to things like this,
Yes.
and
Well, if you're
they
in
get results.
Colorado, sure. Yeah. A lot more, right?
Yeah,
Open-minded, that's for sure, in that
yeah,
area.
for sure.
And so, I mean, if you can quickly walk us through, for example, moving into a new home, clearing the energy, how could you quickly walk us through a quick sage cleansing that we can do?
Sure. So everybody thinks that sage is the trick. Sage is fantastic. Sage does have properties that will make it useful to you, but it's our intention that directs that, right?
Gotcha.
Our intention is what creates change. So just walking through your house burning sage is going to do absolutely nothing. It'll just make your house smell like sage, which is fine. That smells good. But you want to stand at your front door and focus. Have your sage ready and a lighter. Keep a lighter with you, and with the intention of what you want. And love and light is great, but love and light will get you nothing. Tell it what you want it to do. Love and light is the basic baseline of where we're supposed to be. Energy is just love and light. So you have to tell it, I want all of this bad crap gone. And go through your house with that intensity of, I am shoving all of this out of my house. Whether that means you get angry to do it, if that's what it takes, do it. You want it all to go. And as you're burning the sage and you're walking through your house, if you're following an outside wall, it will take you through your entire house, upstairs, downstairs, basement, everywhere, and you'll end up back at your front door. So when you get to that point, you're focused the entire time, maintaining your focus, that you're shoving everything ahead of
Out.
you that you don't want in your house out the door. Then you close the door, thank your higher power, and you put out your sage. Um, Another thing to do if you're moving into a new place, wood tends to, I realize how crazy this sounds. Wood holds energy. Wood was a living thing. If you can wipe down your wood surfaces with a little bit of lemon oil, that can be just like Murphy's oil soap that has lemon in it. A
Yes.
little bit of that cleans it off and gets it going. Also, a little bit spritz of salt water helps. You can put a little bit of salt in the bottom of a squirt bottle. That also works if you don't have sage. So a lot, and then live in your whole house. That's the best thing people can do. They get houses that they may not do anything in the basement. Things are going to move into your basement. There's a reason why
Oh,
basements are creepy. So
yes, that makes
lived
sense.
in your space,
I never
human.
even
I
thought
mean,
of that.
as right. Well, as a realtor, you know that when places stay vacant, they deteriorate so fast. And I've noticed that it seems like it's something connected to our energy. So, yeah, if you've been a homeowner, you know that stuff breaks. You're constantly fixing things in your house. But if you're in a space that is vacant and has been vacant for even a short period of time, it falls apart without human energy around it. So, our energy affects our surroundings, it
Yes.
keeps things alive, just like we're alive. So if we've gone through a period of sickness, do a clearing in your house. If you've had a big fight with your partner, you're going through a rough patch, or you've been depressed, do regular clearings in your house. And that way it's helping you help yourself get out of whatever this is that you're in by making sure that your surroundings are clean and energetic.
In the last apartment that I lived in with my daughter, there was definitely something in there. We were there for about three
Oh.
years. And it was kind of a hallway between my daughter's room and my room. And
Mm-hmm.
I had a bike in the hallway. One time I went into my daughter's room. She was kind of like speaking gibberish in the middle of the night where I had to wake her up. It creeped me out. And I had to take off the smoke alarm was in the hallway, and I had to take off the batteries from the smoke alarm because every morning at 3 in the morning, I am not making this up, it would go off. and it was always at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, that's not
And I
good.
had to take off the battery. So I started saging intention, right? Like you name it. Like the smoke alarm was going to go off with the way I was burning stuff inside that apartment. But again, it goes with what you said. A lot of it was the intention where it was like, you are not welcomed here. Whatever it is that you're here, I'm sorry, whatever you went through, but you got to get out. You have to get out of our
Yes.
house, you know?
Yep.
And
And the
I,
right of space always goes to the living. The right of space is always ours. So I'm not one of those people that says we have to cross all of the dead. If a dead person has made a decision to be here, that's fine. That's your free will.
and if
You
they're
are not
nice,
allowed to interrupt me. You're not
right.
allowed to touch me. Touching is never okay. And if you feel like going through your house and doing that isn't getting you help or it's not resolving the issue, then call somebody like me who can do it for you. Because being around dead people like that can have a physical impact on your body. It can cause heart issues, believe it or not. They have their own frequency, they have their own energy that they're bringing to this. And we're not supposed to be mixed up tightly, living constantly with dead people. It's not good for us physically. So getting rid of things like that is really good. And if you don't want them to cross over, there are things you can do to at least make sure that they're not in your house. So,
Let
yeah.
me, what's your opinion, your professional opinion on keeping someone's ashes in your home after after they transition, you keep the urn with their ashes in their house. Is that frowned upon?
No, you know what's weird is I rarely see dead people in cemeteries. They don't seem to have a connection to their body after they die. It's
Oh, how
just
interesting.
any more so than we do our laundry basket where we took off yesterday's clothes. It's just they're done with it. They are. It's almost like they're waking up to the real world, and we're the dream. Like we're the ones that are in the
Right,
weird place.
right.
They're good with where they're at. So I've never seen. In fact, I had my uncle's ashes in my house for a long time. I'd forgotten all about that. Never felt him around.
Oh.
Never
Well,
saw him.
I brought my father's with me because I still don't know what to do with him. I'm waiting for the other one for the other one to go, and then I'll figure out what to do with them
Yeah.
together. But I've gotten so many conflicting opinions on this, right? Like, or
Really.
it's not healthy, you shouldn't keep him in your house, and then other people are like, that's your dad. Those are just his ashes. He's gonna be with you whether you got the ashes there or not. So I don't feel any type of negative energy around him being here. On the contrary, I feel like my dad's with me all the time, and I don't know, it gives me a sense of like strength around me, and
Sure.
just something that I need. So let's see. So can you share with the haunted properties, like the one that stands out the most to you? Do you have one that's like so freaky that you can share with us?
There are a couple. There was one that this was a realtor that I worked with. So the man was trying to flip his house. He hadn't felt good in the house. He was just like, yeah, I just don't like the neighborhood. And but when he had construction workers in there to fix it, like carpenters and stuff, he couldn't keep them on site because such weird stuff was happening. So they would all put their, they're all working. Let's say they were working on the main floor of the house. They go to lunch. They come back. All of their equipment and tools is in exactly the same place, but down in the basement.
Oh my God.
Nobody had been in the house, but everything was exactly where they left it on the main floor, but it was a whole floor below them. People were falling off ladders, like being shoved. There were things flying off walls. I mean, it was just people were freaked out. So he couldn't get anybody in there, and the real estate agent was like, "Well, I'm waiting for him to get to the point where we can actually put the house on the market, and it's just dragging out and dragging out. It's been months." So she calls me. We go out to the property, and it was weird. Before we left, my guide said, "I have a go bag that I take." My guide said, "Take whiskey," and I'm like, "Okay." So I fill a flask with whiskey, and we go to the site, and immediately I feel like I need to go out to the backyard. So I don't even go in the house. I go out to the backyard, and there are three Native Americans standing there, and I'm saying, okay, well, what do I do now? And he said, offer them the whiskey. So I did. And they said, yeah, we told them not to be here. They could be over there. They could have set up their place over there, not here. And they explained that it had been some kind of a hunting ground that they came to every year. It was what they were supposed to be doing there, and that they had told the original white settlers, not here. You can do it over there. You can do it anywhere but right here. And they did it there. And so he said, one of the three said, nobody lives here. We will make sure nobody lives here. So I started asking the real estate agent, can you check to see what's been going on in the area? Because I'm getting the sense that there would have been suicides, high divorce rate, a lot of turnover in houses, because it's not just his house that's affected, it's the entire area. Sure enough, same thing. There had been a man a few doors down who had shot his wife not long before. I mean, crazy
how
stuff.
big of a radius was this that
I don't know. It was over a mile. I mean, it was a big area.
oh,
It was a
that's
big area. It was
creepy.
not a small area.
Yeah.
And so I asked them, I asked my guide, I'm like, well, what can we do? And he said they would be willing to make a deal. So I asked them, can we have a month? Can we have 2 months? I think it was 2 months. And they said, you can have 2 months. At 6 weeks, everything had calmed down for that 6 weeks. At 6 weeks, the realtor calls me and she's like, it started up again, but he's almost done with the house. I think we can go ahead and move forward. So I go back this time in a meditation. I don't need to physically go to the property and just ask them. And they're like, no, that's long enough. That's long enough. So I don't know if the guy ended up selling his house or not. They wouldn't budge on it. So yeah, there's
Is
not a
it
lot we can do about that.
as a realtor and working in this industry, are there any kind of signs that we can look for as we're purchasing a home to sense the energy, right? Maybe the physical address, like does that play into anything?
Not necessarily, because there are so many, like where I live in Colorado, there's all kinds of history here. And back where you live, back east, there's, oh my God, that's where history started, right? In America. So everywhere has something that happened on it. Not necessarily. I mean, obviously, you're going to want to stay away from places that have a history of, oh, there was a massacre,
Right.
5 miles from
Right.
here.
Yeah, the Ed Gein's home.
Exactly.
Stay away
But
from that property.
right, but almost everything is fixable.
Yeah.
It's only there really haven't. I can think of 2 times in my career that people had to move.
Yeah.
Most of the time, things are fixable. If for no other reason, like if it's a big area, at least the least you can do is mitigate for symptoms, right? So if a person's having an issue in their house where there's a situation like that going on, if he had wanted to stay in the house, we could have put protections in place for him that he would have probably been okay. Because these were ultimately not evil entities; they were formerly living people.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Who we
yeah,
dragged that
usually there's
we
stuff you could do.
dragged out of their space and they're angry about that as they
Exactly.
should be, right?
Yep, for
Okay,
sure.
so Melissa, what have you learned then? Just to kind of just like put this into full circle, which has been a super amazing conversation. Thank you so much. What have you learned about death, fear, and living fully? Like, what are some words of wisdom that you can share with anybody kind of questioning their spiritual awakening and that we talk about, kind of like hitting rock bottom sometimes and working with your shadows and healing and this whole process that takes place, which is so difficult and we never see the light. So, what are some things that you can share with the viewers that are listening, and how they can understand how to better intuitively operate in order to be able to fully develop these gifts?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is be open-minded. The thing that limits us the most is our own beliefs, our own biases. Be open to possibility. Understand that we don't know everything. We know so little about what's going on around us,
Hmm.
and be willing to talk about it. This shouldn't be stigmatized along with mental health. We should be able to talk about this stuff and about death as a natural part of life. It happens to all of us.
All of
So
us.
being open-minded, the people that I see that die, that get stuck here, tend to be the ones that have some firmly held belief system that, no, this is the way it's supposed to be when you die. And they're limiting themselves. Our free will doesn't appear to stop when we die. So being open minded to the possibility that, yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen, and just take it one day at a time, just like we did while we were here, so much easier.
Right, absolutely. So, Melissa, anybody that's watching that would love to reach out to you for either a psychic reading or their house is haunted and they need some help with that. Can you do that remotely or do you have to be physically
Yep.
present in order to be able to
Nope.
do that?
Nope. Actually, even locally, I tend to, if I can, I go to the property. But all of that happens in something called shamanic journey. So it's a specific type of meditation where you're traveling in spirit to wherever's going on, and you can see the whole picture right there, without your body and being afraid and the fear response and all of that. So it's way more effective to do it that way.
Is
So
that
nope, I work with people all over the world.
is that like remote viewing? Kind of like remote viewing?
No, I hate to use the word astral projection, but I think it's more like that, where
Okay.
you go because I can physically see surroundings. Like I remember having a client in Egypt, and I could tell I did all I knew was that she was somewhere in Egypt, but I learned by what I saw was that she was actually in Alexandria because I could see the body of water and I could see where her apartment was. So I
Wow.
know I'm physically going to where these places are, or not physically, spiritually going to where these places are physically. But yeah, they can contact me through my website, uncommonshaman.org.
Okay, perfect. At the once I post everything, it's going to be on our YouTube channel. I'll make sure to put all of your contact information, your email, so that people can reach out to you directly. And this has been a fascinating conversation. You're a fascinating person. Again, thank you so
Well,
much,
thank you
Melissa,
so
for
much.
speaking with me. Okay.
Thank you,
So
Monica.
I want to thank you all for watching and tuning in and listening to Melissa's message for greater awakening, right? So please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and hitting the notification bell. And thank you, thank you, thank you for all of your support. Thank you again, Melissa. I appreciate your time. Have a great one.
Thank you. You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.